Good evening, Dr. Roy.
Good evening.
Good evening, doctor.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Very good. You keep us well. That is enough. Hi, Rajiv. Welcome.
Hi, Doc. Lovely. Looking forward to hearing you.
Thank you,
And
sir.
of course, Meenu and Priyam.
Thank you.
Hi,
So-
Uncle.
Hi, Bete.
Rajiv,
Lovely.
they joined from London.
Yeah.
I think let's get started.
Yeah, please.
Caring Minds Tech Support, can you please play the video?
What would you do if someone you know was diagnosed with bipolar disorder?
আরে বিয়ে হলে সব ঠিক হয়ে যাবে।
But how will it fix a serious mental health condition?
আবার হাউ কেন? প্রিটি ওয়াইফ আসলে সব ঠিক।
But bipolar disorder is totally manageable with the right treatment. How would you help a young boy with dyslexia, মানে learning disability?
কি ক্লাসে আবার ফেল? রড বুঝলে রড।
But madam, dyslexia could be hampering your child's ability at school.
বললাম না স্পেয়ার দ্য রড স্পয়েল দ্য চাইল্ড।
But there is help available that can change your child's life.
Did you know 1 in 5 Indians are currently living with a mental health condition? What's on your mind today?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Health 360 COVID Care 2.0 Dr. Speak, presented by Caring Minds in association with CCNFC and Concern for Calcutta. Last year, we had started the Health 360 webinar series during the beginning of the pandemic, where seasoned healthcare experts and specialists shared their knowledge on how to take care of every part of our bodies, head to toe, inside and outside, and also dispelled myths related to COVID-19. Today, we're very excited to have with us one of the most sought after names, Dr. Alok Roy, speak about COVID-19 symptoms, treatment options, post-recovery healthcare, and vaccination. Now, to give you all a quick 101 about Caring Minds, my mother, psychotherapist Meenu Budhya, established Caring Minds 8 years ago in 2013, and I have been a part of this journey as head new initiatives. Our vision is to break the stigma surrounding mental health care and to provide multi-speciality mental health care all under one roof, one call away, one click away. Now let's just watch a short video about how we've managed to touch over 22 lakh lives in the past 8 years.
Caring Minds is the brainchild of founder and director Meenu Budhya. The seeds of the facility were sown with the birth of Meenu's younger daughter Prachi, 8 years after her elder daughter Priyam was born. As Prachi was growing up, her family noticed that she was having a difficult time at school. Prachi was diagnosed with ADHD, low IQ, and later bipolar disorder. As a mother, Meenu was not only concerned about her daughter's time at school, but also her future. She trained to become a psychotherapist and counselor. Wanting to apply the expertise she gained while training her daughter, she started her first social initiative, Caring Minds. Priyam, who had been studying and working in the UK for 6.5 years, returned to join Caring Minds as the head of new initiatives. Established in 2013, the sprawling super specialty facility is a gift to the city of Kolkata and East India. The vision behind Caring Minds was to introduce to the community a one-stop solution for all problems related to psychological health. It is a state-of-the-art center for mental health care and psychological growth. Here, mental health professionals provide expert services for both clinical and non-clinical issues across all age groups, from children to the elderly. Caring Minds offers an easily accessible and inviting environment in which you can consult with a highly efficient group of experts. We have 3 wings: training and development, clinical, and academia. The training and development wing conducts soft skills workshops for schools, corporates, and other socio-cultural organizations. The clinical wing deals with all issues related to the mind. It aims to help people who are in need of a guiding hand for their overall emotional well-being. The Academia Wing is a training academy that develops and delivers both short and long-term psychology-related courses. Sometimes you need help and guidance to feel better. You are not alone. To drive your blues away, visit Caring Minds today. Together, let's say hello to a better, brighter.
Now, I'd just like to explain the sequence of the event. My mom and I will be in conversation with Dr. Roy, asking him questions surrounding COVID-19. After this, we shall be taking questions from the audience. For the duration of the session, everyone has been on mute. So if you can please leave whatever questions you have in the chat box, and time permitting, we'll try and take as many questions as possible. Today, we're live on not just the Zoom call, but we're also live on the CCNFC Facebook page and also the Concern for Calcutta Facebook page. So please feel free to leave in all your questions and we'll try and answer as many of them. There's also a little surprise at the end for Dr. Roy. So keep watching till the end. And now I'll hand over to my mother to take this interactive session forward and formally welcome and introduce Dr. Roy. Over to you, Mom.
Good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Priyam. I add my warm welcome to Dr. Roy. As and when we had our share of COVID-19 related issues in our family last year, Dr. Alok Roy and his dedicated team at Medica stood by us like pillars. Thank you, Dr. Roy, for agreeing to spare your time, which will benefit many more here live on Zoom and the Facebook pages of Caring Minds, CCFC, and Concern for Kolkata. Dr. Alok Roy is the chairman of Medica Group of Hospitals, one of the fastest growing healthcare chains in Eastern India, with hospitals in West and North Bengal, Jharkhand, Bihar, Odisha, and Assam. Though Dr. Rai specialized in nuclear cardiology from AIIMS, he is a passionate social entrepreneur whose vision is building and managing healthcare facilities that would be at par with international standards, but at rates that are affordable to all. Two of his latest noble initiatives are converting the Kishore Bharti Kirangan into an extended satellite unit of Medica hospitals with 200 beds, that too in a record time of 72 hours. Turning the Kolkata hospital into a modern 300-bed hospital in exactly 14 days. So welcome, Dr. Roy. Without further ado, let's get started. So my first question is, I have taken both vaccine doses. Am I still at risk of getting COVID-19?
Thank you. First of all, I must thank Priyam and Mrs. Budhia and everyone for inviting me to this talk. And I think it is needs the time. And I'm also very excited to share whatever little we have learned. And before I answer a question, I want to say a few things about COVID. I would answer a question at the end of it. First of all, that we doctors are scientists. We are very sure of what we are going to do next. Unless we are sure, we don't take a step. And the life has been most of the time in a specialized category of medicine, very well defined. It's almost mathematical that if somebody gets a bacterial infection, he has a typhoid, you give him so and so medicine, and so many days he will become better. If he has a knee problem and knee replacement needs to be done, we know which is the good knee currently available, and we will put it in, and in next 24 hours, we'll discharge the patient. For gallbladder, we discharge the patient on the same day. Very complicated surgery. It's not easy surgery. We discharge the patient the same day. So most of the time, things were very well defined for us till COVID hit us on our face. We didn't know anything about it. We did not see it coming. There was no knowledge about it. There's no information, no treatment available to us. This is the first time we walked into a treatment protocol almost blindly. And we were constantly searching the right way of treating. We kept on losing thousands of patients. And I have no shame in saying that most time we didn't know why we lost it. Those who recovered, we didn't know why they recovered. We tried every possible medicines, whatever the world had thrown at us, starting from hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, down to tocilizumab, Actemra, 4 you all would have heard. So many medicines. We are not too sure which one works best. The only thing which has worked best are 3: oxygen, blood thinners, and steroids. And invasive treatment, the only treatment which has been worthwhile is ECMO treatment, where we put him on artificial heart and lung to preserve his organs till lungs recover. So when I walk through our ICU, I have not seen more fear than what I've seen in last 1.5 years in the eyes of people who come to us, because as we are blinded by our ignorance, so are they. But the additional thing they have is that they are worried about losing their lives. They're worried about losing their near and dear ones. So it has been a one-sided war where we were constantly, relentlessly attacked, and we fought it out with whatever primitive tools we had. One good thing which happened, that this also brought a lot of humanity forward in supporting, in caring, in taking care of the people. A lot of people came forward to support, and that what probably has helped us in winning over this war. This is a war. It is not fought on the front. It has been fought in the hospital or in the ground in your homes. You help us in fighting this war by staying home and staying safe. You help us this war by masking. You help us in this war by maintaining social distancing. You help us in winning this war by not being reckless and casual. That would help all of us in winning this war early. With that, I would like to say that the COVID is a very direct reflection of the density of population. Wherever density of population is more, COVID numbers are more. In a small survey, they found out the tightly packed cities where there are around 1,200 people per square kilometer, number of COVID positives are 2,048. 1,200 people per square kilometer, 2,048 people are infected. If you bring it down to 900 people per square kilometer, which is just 25% reduction, the reduction in COVID positive cases is by 90%. They drop down to 56. So if you are in a rather thinly populated area, chances of getting COVID is less. So that very clearly demonstrates that it transmits from human to human and transmits in a close proximity. Just wanted to tell you that how relevant it is that you maintain distancing. Now the question which Meenuji has asked, that yes, you may get COVID after 2 doses of vaccination. But please remember, we have seen so many patients, those who were vaccinated, very few of them had COVID, and those who had COVID had a very mild COVID. So their severity was low. Most of them did not have COVID. And also that sometime many of them had 1 dose of COVID and came to us, and they had 1 dose of vaccine and came back to us with COVID infection. Even they were much better off than those who were not vaccinated. So obviously vaccination is the only wall between us and the disease. So please don't hesitate from vaccination and take it whichever, wherever you get it. Thank you very much.
So this is my personal question. Second one, I had COVID last year, was hospitalized and recovered. Now I have taken both the vaccine doses. Am I still at risk to get it again? If I get it again, will it be worse? Is the vaccine less effective if you have had COVID before?
No. Vaccine is more effective if you had COVID earlier, because vaccine acts as a booster dose for you. In fact, it was said that those who had a vaccine, the first dose itself was a booster dose for them. So the vaccine can be taken after COVID, and also in your case, you may get COVID again if you're not careful, but chances of it being very minor is very strong. We have seen that the chances of getting COVID in vaccinated people is 0.04%, which is very low. So in 1,004 people will get 1,000 people, if they are vaccinated, only 4 will have a disease. So I think your chance of getting disease is low and very mild.
Good news. Thank you. So what I saw in my friends that they have COVID-19, it shows false positive or negative, and the test shows negative and they still have symptoms, and the test is again positive but don't feel very unwell. So what should we do? If we have mild symptoms, will OTT medicines will suffice, or will I need COVID treatment medicines?
Minoji, we don't treat diagnosis. We treat what we see in the patient. Just because RT-PCR is negative or positive normally does not change our treatment. Yes, we put isolations and all that in suspected cases, but we treat the disease. And we know that there are 33% false negative in RT-PCR itself. We know that RAT is positive only in 33% of patients. So a lot of patients get missed in RAT, rapid antigen test. We know that a lot of patients get missed. So we have another instrument known as a CT scan. We do CT scan and find lung involvement, and the symptoms are suggestive of COVID. We treat him as a COVID. Now, 85% of the patient of COVID does not need hospitalization. They are good to be treated at home. In fact, treatment of choice in COVID is home treatment. But in case the oxygen level drops, that means that the disease is progressing from mild to moderate. And that is time when they need to come into the hospital and they need to be treated. The treatment starts from 3rd to 5th day. See, COVID has a particular pattern that how it marches on in human body. Mean time to symptom is 5 days. When you get the disease, and symptom normally come in 5 days. Pneumonia takes around 9 days. And CT changes take 4 days. So if the RT-PCR is negative and patient has a positive CT and is symptomatic, we pull him in as a COVID and treat him, because at this point of time, other infections are not even seen. We haven't seen typhoid or other diseases happening at this point of time. Normally, we would have got so many flu and others, but because people are masking, the other diseases have seemed to have disappeared, and mostly COVID. So symptoms are good enough for us to treat them.
Thank you. So मेरा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन ये है कि अगर किसी को फर्स्ट डोज कोविड का वैक्सीन लेके कोविड हो जाता है, तो हाउ मेनी डेज और मंथ्स डू दे नीड टू वेट बिफोर दे कैन टेक द सेकंड डोज?
Earlier, the guideline was 28 days, then became 6 weeks. Now it is 3 months. 3 months is a gap which government has mentioned they should take before they take the second dose. So, but for him, if he had 1 dose and he has got a COVID, he has got a booster dose in the form of COVID. And if he has done well, then he already has enough immunity, and second dose can be taken after 3 months. That will act as a booster for him.
The current recommendation between Covishield doses is now 12 to 16 weeks for better efficacy. How protected are the people who had taken the vaccine in the early stages within a time gap of only 28 days or 6 to 8 weeks? Also, is there a booster dose to be taken after the second dose? If so, when? क्योंकि हम लोग सब स्टार्टिंग में ही ले लिए थे, तो हम लोग को तो वापस नेक्स्ट डोज 28 डेज में ही लेना पड़ा. So where are we placed?
So not really. See, the initial there are different trials. When a vaccine is produced, it goes through various trials. The third trial of Covishield had shown that 90% efficacy after 1 month of injection of second dose, which hasn't changed. So it would be more than 90%. It won't be less than 90% whether take it after 1 month or after 3 weeks. So the efficacy goes up from 90 to 93%, 94%. That means out of 100 people who have taken the vaccine, only probably 4 or 5 will have a less vaccine-induced immunity. Otherwise, 94, 93% will have immunity. So 12 to 16 week is fine. That's a gap which government has proposed, and which seems to be also reported by the vaccine manufacturers. So it has come from the manufacturer. So people who have taken first dose and second dose, after 14 days of second dose, they are fully protected. Even first dose is better than 2 doses, absence of no dose. 2 doses are better than 1 dose. So whatever dose you have taken, you are protected to that extent.
Nice to know that. Priyam, over to you.
No, but one question was, doctor, is there a booster dose to be taken after the second dose? Is there anything else on top of it?
Not yet, but see our experience of similar coronavirus, not COVID, we call it beta coronaviruses. The beta coronaviruses immunity lasts for a year, and after that body forgets. That's what our experience has been with other virus. This virus is too new, so we don't know much about it. But if we go by any other coronavirus as they have been behaving, probably after a year we may have taken booster dose. But let's see, once we finish this round, then booster issue also will come up by October or so. So that by that time the picture will be more clear, and the very fact that Pakistan is seeing third wave and Japan is seeing fourth wave.
I know.
So one thing is very clear, that the precaution for corona is not going to go away for next 2-3 years. This is 2021. We need to be mentally prepared till 2023-24 for us to be a little more disciplined than what we were between the first and second wave. When Japan can get a fourth wave, we can imagine that the kind of, and they have a little population, but they got the fourth wave. Pakistan is going through third wave now at this point of time. So the wave will come unless we stay in permanent lockdown. It is not possible. Humanity will not survive because we are people. We need to meet people. We need to live in an environment. We need to be economically viable. So all that running, probably the only thing which will save us long term is vaccination and civil behavior. All our behavior will modify the corona wave depending on how well we have behaved.
So over to you, Priyam.
So my question is, currently there's a lot of confusion between which vaccine to take, Covaxin versus Covishield. And Covaxin costs approximately 1,400 per dose, and currently is not recognized by the World Health Organization. whereas Covishield costs about 850 per dose, and this is recognized for travel internationally. So my question is that which one should people take who need to travel internationally for work? And if they have already taken the Covaxin, which is not recognized currently abroad, can they take Covishield too? And does that give added immunity if they take both?
See, unfortunately, Covaxin is not recognized by WHO and internationally. It is not in their list. And it's a high time they should get them listed. The vaccine is not bad. It's a deactivated virus particle, which is standard platform. All our vaccines which we are getting in the past, flu, rabies, polio, Japanese encephalitis, they all belong to the same variety. A very fairly standard format, and it's very effective, almost 78 to 100% effectivity. And the vaccine is good. Vaccine, nothing wrong with the vaccine. They need to get them approved by the international authorities. Once that happens, people can travel. But those who have taken Covaxin, and if they take again 2 doses of Covishield, there's nothing wrong in it. And because they have to travel, those who don't have travel, they don't have to bother. But those who have to travel and they feel that they will not be able to travel, they can take 2 doses of Covishield, which is being permitted by the country. And such we call it cocktail. It only boosts their immunity further. That's what is expected, because both two are based on 2 different parameters. Covaxin is a dead virus. So it has same sequence of virus as the normal virus has. It creates an antibody against that in our body. Covishield uses a kind of, it tricks the body in introducing the spike protein, which COVID virus has it, using chimpanzee adenovirus. It kind of mixes and matches and pushes into the body, and then body recognizes that as a protein and creates an antibody which matches the antibody of COVID. So both are effective, and one can take both if they have traveled internationally, which is perfectly all right.
So in that case, if somebody has taken the Covaxin and they wish to take the Covishield for international travel, what should be the time gap between the last dose of Covaxin and the first dose of Covishield?
3 months is a decent time, because as we say that, or they can take it even earlier if required. If it is very pressing and they can't wait, they can take earlier also. It was permitted. It was not permitted earlier, but I just saw the government notification a few days back where Dr. V.K. Paul has said that can be given.
Thank you. So this is something new which we've been reading in the news, and it's very scary. What is happy hypoxia? When there are no common signs of hypoxia displayed, how do we detect it and prevent further complications?
Happy hypoxia has killed more people than disease itself. See, what happens that normally when in body oxygen level goes down, the body starts responding to it and be known as respiratory distress, where people can feel that they are getting breathless, and a lot of things get triggered in the system, which makes him sick. Either he falls or he feels very unwell. He has to seek help from a doctor or somewhere. In COVID, what we have realized, especially in youngsters means below 60, sometimes the elderly also, that their oxygen level has dropped dangerously low. They may be having, I am telling you my personal experience. I was dealing with the youngsters. He was hardly 45, 46, very jubilant man. I still remember his face. So I was talking to him with 70 oxygen. And when he came in, when he put oximeter of 70, I was shocked. I said, how are you feeling? He said, I'm fine, dog. What are you saying? And he was talking on the mobile so loudly. And I said, just put your phone down. And I called nurse. I said, I turned and called nurse to come and put oxygen on him stat. And when I turned, he was no more. The very close friend of mine, he was owner of one of the largest biryani chain. I'm a vegan. I'm not a non-veg eater. But he was a very close friend because he was a very philanthropic in many ways. He called me that, doc, I'm having fever for last 3 days, but I'm fine. I have no problem. But somehow my oxygen level is 75, 76. I said, don't be stupid. Hop into a car and come. He didn't come that evening. Next morning, he calls me again at 9 o'clock. That I'm still feeling all right, doc. Why are you talking? I said, you are stupid. You are getting happy hypoxia. Come to the hospital now. I want you to come. Then I called his family. We brought him to the hospital. I took him to CT scan. In front of me in CT scan, he just collapsed and died. So in COVID, we don't feel that our oxygen is low. If normal person oxygen goes below 90, 85, you become breathless. You can't breathe. You will have a reeling of head. You will have a lot of things. But in COVID, happy hypoxia is very common and it just simply kills. So we need to make sure that you need to check your oxygen level regularly. Falls below 94, you need to be in the hospital. Because at this time, we must intervene and must treat you immediately on priority.
So can one have happy hypoxia without having COVID? Or is it that happy hypoxia only happens if they have COVID?
Happy hypoxia can happen in a certain high altitude and all that. Right, but normally it is not seen without any other form. And this is something which is discovered in COVID very strongly and very commonly.
Okay, thank you. The next question is again something that we've all been hearing about, which is what is mucormycosis or black fungus? How scary is it for COVID-19 patients? What are the symptoms and how do we protect ourselves? Does nasal swab testing increase the chance of getting black fungus?
Black fungus or mucormycosis is a very rare disease, was very rare disease till 1 month back. And it was seen in those patients who had transplants done, who had a very low immunity and who had a kind of, who were on immunosuppressive treatment where their immunity level was suppressed. And the mucormycosis is nothing but a normal fungus which goes on the bread, in your house. It grows on the bread, that black fungus. It's a very opportunistic infection. And we have suddenly realized that fungus grows into those patients who had a COVID, and those who are highly diabetic, had a ketoacidosis, one of the complications of diabetes, where there are a lot of compounds are traveling in the blood. And these patients normally get mucormycosis nowadays. The 80% of the mucormycosis population is in India. Around 3 weeks back, we had, 2 months back, we had 100 cases. 3 weeks back, we have 10,000 cases. As of now, probably we have over 1 lakh cases. Now, these are what happens that because of the low immunity and high diabetes and uncontrolled diabetes, the fungus, this fungus we breathe every day here and there. In our houses, we have fungus sometime on the bed sheets or on the walls and all that. This fungus, which normally when we inhale, body encapsulates and destroys it. But in mucormycosis, the fungus settles down. It starts normally from the nose, then goes to the sinuses, then to the eyes, then goes to the brain, sometimes seen in the skin, some lesions of the skin, sometimes in the lungs and liver. If it's not identified early, it's very serious and fatal. Most time it kills. Death rate could be as high as 70%, 90%, depending on the extent of the mucormycosis. Now, what are the signs of it? Nasal blockage. Those, especially remember, we have not seen many patients who are non-diabetic getting the disease. It's seen strongly associated up to 88% with the people who have a high uncontrolled diabetes and who are on steroid, long-term steroid and who have got a poor immunity. So nasal blockage is symptoms, blood tinged nasal discharge. From the nose, you get some blood drop coming out once when you remove it, wipe your nose. Headache, one-sided face pain, the face pain on one side, and the eyes blackening, the loosening of tooth, or pain in the eye, severe pain in the eye, swelling in the eye, double visions. You see two things. These are some of the early symptoms. And as I said, the risk factors are diabetes, steroid therapy, HIV patients, malignancy, and persons in renal failure. So these are the few risk factors, and we can address this problem if we diagnose it early. And the treatment is mostly surgical, where we remove. There's no medical treatment which is fully effective. Medical with surgical treatment is very important, and the medical treatment has to be optimal. The right medical treatment with the right doses and optimal doses is very important. So you need a center which deals with it, which is aware of it. Priyam, I hope this clarifies.
Yeah.
How do we protect?
Yeah.
Control diabetes. Control your diabetes. Even if you are on a steroid, make sure your blood sugar is controlled, or it's uncontrolled diabetes, which leads to ketoacidosis. What happened that the things which affect it very strongly are your blood pH. Blood has a pH. pH is a acidic parameter of the blood. The moment blood become more acidic, fungus grows. That's a growth point for the fungus. A lot of iron is available in the system. What happens that in COVID, a lot of iron gets weak. That's how ferritin level is high. Iron feeds fungus. Ketone bodies make you susceptible. And so you need to first drink proper water. Second, don't suffer from diabetes complications. Control insulin. Third, that increase your immunity by eating properly, sleeping properly, maintaining timings, eat healthy, exercise regularly. All those things will prevent you from getting mucormycosis.
Okay, so a related question to that is, are black, now we're hearing about 3 colored funguses. So are black, white, and yellow fungus post-COVID infections? How can we prevent them? And can one get infected with these without getting COVID-19 and without coming in contact with a COVID-19 positive patient?
No, unlikely. The people who get mucormycosis, see the black, yellow, they're all fungal varieties. Doesn't matter which color it is. What happens, because your low immunity, body's ability to fight with the disease drops. Because it drops, then whatever fungus, suppose in my hand, the fungus comes on my hand. My body, what it does, it rejects it. It engulfs it and assimilates it and destroys it. Because I don't have that level of strength left internally, so my body is not able to remove the fungus from my skin. See, all fungus, your skin is the household for thousands and millions of bacteria and fungus and everything. They never infect you. They don't make you sick. What makes you sick? When your body immunity goes down. What brings it down is your high pH, low pH, your ketoacidosis, your high diabetes. Diabetes high means, what does it mean by high glucose level? Means for these fungus to grow, they need glucose, they need iron. So high glucose level provides them good glucose and good iron. So any opportunistic bacteria grow. That's how the hospital-acquired infection is not an infection which hospital has given you. Hospital-acquired infections normally are because of your low immunity. Similarly, in mucormycosis, because immunity level is so compromised and the body cannot repair its own damage. and the pH is low, and a lot of iron circulating in the body, and glucose circulating in the body. That's a ready mixed cocktail for fungus to grow. That's how mycorrhizasis happens. You don't get it from the patient. Even if you tend for a patient, you don't get it. Wearing a mask is a good idea, but it doesn't happen if you are a normal, you don't have diabetes, and if you are don't have either comorbidity, you can take care of the patient. Nothing will happen to them.
Thank you. So this is a common question that everyone's been asking. Will there be a third or a fourth wave of COVID-19 here in India? If yes, when do you see this coming? And the third wave is also supposed to impact kids and youth, particularly in the age group of 30. But vaccination is only for 18 and above. So how can parents keep their children and the youth safe, given that the ones below 18 can't get vaccinated currently?
See, country has paid a very heavy price of sticking to 45 plus vaccination, that too inadequately. This second wave, we lost mostly the people in the range of 35 to 45 and 50. Below 60, we lost most of the people whom we lost were in that age group, which is a very formative age group. I think we will have to inoculate people below 18 also eventually or very soon. Third wave, if can come in Pakistan, what holds India back? When fourth wave can come in Japan, what holds India back? And we are such an irresponsible and indisciplined race. We will get it. Nothing is going to stop it. Today, numbers are less because we are all staying at home. I know people from good families, very good families, where parents have no control over their children who are 20 to 30. They go out every day without mask. I see around me that people are youngsters at 12 o'clock coming out of the party without wearing mask. If we continue to be responsible, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave, seventh wave, 10th wave will come. If we are responsible and we mask, we will not even get third wave. It's up to us. If we vaccinate and be careful, third wave will not come. But you know that we will not vaccinate. Many of us don't take. In my hospital, my doctors have not taken vaccination. What to do? So it's not can't be forced. It's not that we can force and give it to you, but everyone must take it. That's the only way to prevent it.
Doctor, just to interfere here, this morning only, in one group, they were saying it is just like taking an injection, but it will have adverse effect and, nothing will happen. So why to take the injection? Like you said, even the doctors are still apprehensive. So this fear of taking or not taking, or the awareness, I think is very, very important. Because people still feel, kya fayda hai, le, nahi le. I was very astonished this morning to hear from very learned people. That the injection chala jayega, it is like any injection. Ek saal baad kya hoga, iska koi adverse effect hoga and all that. Really, very sorry to hear.
I thank you very much for this comment. I will not call your doctor very learned.
He's not a doctor, morning walker.
He may be a good human being, but he's not very learned. Absolutely. And unfortunately, अरे सर डूबते को तिनके का सहारा, इस समय एक ही तिनका है वो वैक्सीन.
Exactly, that's what.
अब सर आप सोते हुए आदमी को जगा सकते हैं, जो जाग रहा है उसको कैसे जगाएंगे सर?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. अगर डॉक्टर्स भी बोल रहे हैं कि नहीं ले रहे हैं तो ये awareness की बड़ी जरूरत है. That is the biggest. That's the point.
Sir, ignorant है सर, they'll pay their price.
सही बात.
So, डॉक्टर जो अभी नया चीज सुनने में आ रहा है कि एक नया मेडिसिन निकला है that is costing more than 1 lakh and it is very effective it is the only treatment now available. It will really cure you from COVID. So is it true?
Some kind of a cocktail or something, just in a lighter note.
We have it here in Medica with us. We just got some doses. See, these are all the cocktails, monoclonal cocktails mixed. See, every medicine has a role in a very particular circumstances. This cocktail is very useful when see what happens in the body. Once you ingest virus through the nose or breathing, virus goes to your body. There are ACE2 receptors in the heart, lungs, various places, intestine. It goes there, kidney, and connects itself, gets inside the cell, and then a cell starts producing viruses. Now, for body to produce antibody will take 7 to 9 days. So for 7 to 9 days, virus is happily multiplying. That's how you become so much that you start breathing it out in your breath, the coronavirus. Now, these monoclonal antibodies have to be given in first or 2 days. So when the moment virus are multiplicating, they're coming out, they're destroyed. They're coming out, they're destroyed. But it has to happen in 1 or 2 days time. हमारे हिंदुस्तान में सर तो 2 दिन तो लोग घर पे बैठे रहते हैं, बुखार आ रहा है, कोई बात नहीं, हमें कुछ नहीं हुआ है. Happy hypoxia, mind hypoxia is so strong in there that anybody, my neighbor will get corona, I will not get. So if you don't come in 3 days, 5 days, mean time from getting the disease and symptom is 5 days. You have passed that antibody time. So all these medicines are coming in, have a use for a very particular, very short span of time. So it has been said and it has been tried. There are good reports, but reports are so small. 22 people, 52 people, 82 people, 100 people have taken it. And it can't, and they have taken, they have benefited. People could benefit from thousands of other things in the body. Body may have. We know for sure that those who had a similar viruses, mumps and influenza and all that, they also have antibody against coronavirus. We have seen that those people who have autoimmunity of high level, arthritis and all that, rheumatoid arthritis, many of them don't get the disease that strongly. We have seen that all the elderly people who are 80, 85, 86, sometimes they don't even notice the disease because they have lived so long and they've got all kinds of antibodies. So corona doesn't affect them. Whereas youngsters die. I lost a 19-year-old boy. So he doesn't have any antibody. So what is curing it, we don't know. As I said in the beginning, we don't know what is really curing the human being. So it's all hit and trial. Something works, something doesn't work. What works, everybody start dancing. You remember that hydroxychloroquine is the only treatment. The last president of the United States declared it, and then a lot of ladies came. I took hydroxychloroquine and I recovered completely. Today, nobody will give hydroxychloroquine to their own dogs. So that's how things have been changed. We don't know. We heard it. We got it. We'll try it out. Now, new is the 2DG. The 2DG, you give a sachet, and we did a trial in Calcutta in Medica ourselves. So 41% effective. Let's see. We'll use it and see how effective it is. So we are not too sure unless we have done it ourselves in a couple of cases. So far, nothing works in COVID. All remdesivir, tocilizumab, actamirafor, we don't know which one works, which one doesn't work. Most of them don't work. And Nibu Pani probably will work better. But in certain circumstances, they work very well. We don't know what triggered those circumstances. That's where it is. Next 5 years will clarify more. Thank you.
So, is it true that Covishield vaccine puts one at risk of blood clots? Is this applicable to all or a certain population with comorbidities?
See, the giving rise to the clot known as thrombocytopenic clot. See, it is very rare, extremely rare. And in very few patients, it has been observed. The benefit of vaccine far outweighs the clotting. And that has been so far, I was scanning these papers since yesterday, and every study has said they have just had 1 or 2 cases here and there, especially up in the USA. And in India, we had 1 or 2 instances which were demonstrated that after 3 weeks they had MI or they had a stroke. But to really link it with the vaccination is a little difficult. But yes, the venous thrombosis has been reported in very few cases. Again, the benefit far outweighs the 1 or 2 in thousands.
So are the rapid self-testing RT-PCR kits accurate? Could you also please shed some light on what exactly are antigen tests and who needs them?
See, rapid antigen, we call it RAT. Rapid antigen test is very useful for contact tracing. When somebody has got in the family, then if you want to trace it, that who all have the disease, do it. If they're positive, it's a positive. But if they're negative, not necessarily they're negative. It has to be confirmed by RT-PCR. So when we want to do large number screening and save the time and effort, RAT is very useful. A rapid antigen test, we just take the nose and put in a sample and run it in 10 minutes, we have a result. But if it is negative, it's no certain that patient doesn't have a disease. We had to do RT-PCR. So the RT-PCR is the gold standard. There's no doubt about that. Without that, you can never have a correct diagnosis. And also because we know that if one symptomatic test positive, there are 10 to 30 asymptomatic in the second wave. So that can be quickly scanned by RAT, a rapid antigen test. Whereas RT-PCR is a time-taking process. There are other RT-PCR equivalent available, but they are very slow. They don't give a result in 1 day, but I can't do hundreds of tests. In RT-PCR, we can do hundreds of tests in a day, thousands of tests in a day on one machine. So RT-PCR continues to be the gold standard. Zinc is the vitamin of choice.
I'd just like to actually, so Mom's question was, are the rapid self-testing RT-PCR kits, are they accurate? Or, would you advise that we should get it done from a proper diagnostic center or a hospital?
See, the rapid RT-PCR tests available to the public, I'm not aware of at this point in time, which are reliable.
Are these self-testing kits which one can buy and they can do?
They are rapid antigen test.
Okay.
See, RT-PCR test and rapid antigen test, they are two different tests. Okay. Rapid antigen test is that we take a nasal swab, put it in a fluid and mix it, and then we put a drop on it's like a pregnancy test, that slide on which you put a drop. Those tests the antigen, but they are false negative to a great extent. RT-PCR test is that we take same swab in a almost same method, where we extract the antigen, then we create an antibody against them and run in a cycle. So that's a far more authentic and reliable, but that takes hours. Rapid antigen RT-PCR, I'm not aware of, because that process itself takes time, from extraction to developing a chain reaction. It's a polymerase chain reaction, which takes time. It takes almost 3 hours. Then we run on multiple cycles to see where the positivity is. If CT score is 24 and below, that means the PCR has picked up in a higher concentration, which is highly infective. If it is 24 and above CT score, that means that the patient is not infective. He will not spread infection. He may be still infected, but he will not spread infection, and his viral load is very low. So these are the two methods of doing it. The rapid RT-PCR, I have not seen the kit yet.
So अभी जो ये आजकल वैक्सीन के बाद स्पाइक प्रोटीन एंटीबॉडी टेस्ट हो रहे हैं, तो वो आपको क्या लगता है, इफेक्टिव है?
बहुत अच्छी चीज है सेल्फ सेटिस्फैक्शन के लिए. उससे आपको मानसिक संतुष्टि बहुत होती है कि हमारा एंटीबॉडी बहुत अच्छा है, but that means nothing. It's unnecessarily waste of money. Our labs are making good money out of that. They're charging good portion. A lot of people are going there, but that doesn't help you in any way.
Because I got 3,200 antibodies.
मैंने तो मना किया था आपको मत कराइएगा.
मैंने नहीं कराया डॉक्टर साहब.
No, but you are saying every day to get it done.
चलो, अब आज के बाद नहीं कराएंगे.
Yes, good.
Yes, Priyam.
So I have a question which came in from somebody. She says she is a single woman and she is in her late 30s and she's planning to freeze her eggs. So what precautions should she take when taking the vaccine? Is there any interplay between egg freezing and the vaccine?
No, there's no relationship. And she should take the vaccine.
Okay.
She should take the vaccine because the vaccine has not shown any effect on adverse effect on those who are pregnant or those who are infertile or for infertility treatment or those in an early stage of pregnancy or late stage of pregnancy or who are breastfeeding, has not shown any adverse. So vaccine is something which they must take in any case.
Next question is, are all disinfectant wipes, sprays, sanitizers, vegetable washing liquids, post-wash clothes washes actually and equally effective in killing the virus? What type of sanitizer should we use when we cannot wash our hands?
I think alcohol-based sanitizer is the best, where you have a particular strength and those sanitizers from a good company. Now sanitizers are coming with all kinds of very fancy aloe vera and all that. Those are really good, and because they have a certain content, they don't dry up your skin like the pure alcohol, which can dry up. So those sanitizers are always effective. Plain simple soap water is effective. Bleaching powder is effective in a diluted concentration. Don't make it very strong. I think 0.5 or something percent, which works best. For chlorhexidine works best. So these 3-4 things work best, and they are cheap also. Soap water is very cheap and very, very effective. You can use it anywhere. Any person, whatever is the coronavirus content is, just put your clothes in a soap water and 20 minutes later you can take it out. You are free from coronavirus. So I don't think one need to really go for anything beyond this. Actually, the getting rid of coronavirus on the surface is just plain alcohol is good enough, and soap water is good enough.
Okay, thank you. My next question is, what are some of the uncommon and new symptoms of the second wave of COVID-19 that we should watch out for? And also the way they say now that, the second wave which has come now, it's more airborne. So could you share some more light on this, please?
Yeah, the second wave has really baffled us far more than the first wave. The first wave was very kind of well ordained, like army marching. We knew what will happen on third day, what will happen on fifth day, what will happen on seventh day, ninth day, 11th day, 14th day, 17th day. We knew all answers. After a few days, we learned it. And anybody could treat it. It was so simple. Second wave has suddenly thrown us off guard completely. The virus which has mutated and new variant which has come is very unpredictable. Here we have sent patients home on 17th day, 30th day he came back with cytokine storm, which you never saw first time. 27th day patient got cytokine storm. 9th day patient got cytokine storm. And so the disease is very unpredictable this time. The number of people requiring oxygen has gone up hugely. Earlier, we managed with 45 ventilators in last wave last year. This year, I have over 100 volunteer ventilators, and I'm still short. Last year, we had 3 ECMO machines. We increased it to 7, then 11. And we managed the entire pandemic last year. This year, I have 30 ECMO machines, and I'm still short. So this time, behavior has been very, very erratic. What has very clearly emerged this time, that long COVID. Long COVID means when patient goes home, after that, for 12 weeks, he has repeatedly debilitating symptoms. He feels very foggy, extremely tired, a lot of muscle pain, persistent cough. He'll be coughing for 2 months non-stop. Mind becomes foggy. There's no concentration. And so much of depression I never saw in last time, which I'm seeing this time. So the symptoms are very multi-organ symptoms are coming. And symptoms are people are experiencing symptoms with the brain, symptoms with the muscles, symptoms with the concentration, mental, and the gastrointestinal symptoms, GI symptoms, diarrhea. So there is a potpourri of symptoms. We don't know. We can't put one symptom. This is what will happen to you. And what we do to diagnose, we exclude other diseases. If nothing else is found, we say it is because of the long COVID. We have termed it long COVID, COVID sequelae. This is what is happening this time, Priya.
Thank you. I think we have a lot of questions that have come in from the audience, so we take them now. We have Ma'am Noni Khullar with us, Principal of Akshar. Ma'am, would you like to ask your question? I'll just unmute you.
Yes, Doctor, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Doc, I just wanted to ask that there is a relative who is suffering from, who's just been diagnosed with cancer, and he is due his Covishield shot as per government regulations in the 12th week. And if he waits till the 12th week, it will be July, and he needs to start his treatment fast. Is there any, method? Because we have approached the hospital and they said, you got to wait because it's in the CoVIN app. Is there no way that he can get it in his 6th week and go ahead with his radiation? Because it's, not working well for him.
No, we have to make such exceptions. And we'll talk to the government, and I'm sure we can arrange for his vaccination early. That should be done.
That can be done. Okay. So would you tell me where we could go with, the gentleman? He has been to Tata Memorial. And so what is the course of action? Going to which hospital? Where exactly can we go?
He had a COVID shield, isn't it?
He's taken Covishield. That's correct.
So you can take my details from Priyam, and we can work it out for you next week.
Okay. All right. Okay, Doc. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We also have, we have Mr. K.S. Adhikari, President of Concern for Calcutta. So would you like to ask a question?
Question. Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, I do not have a question because doctor has already answered most of the questions, and I'm very happy that the format Caring of Mind has created. That is, the question is asked to the doctor and the doctor answers it. That is the best way of handling the questions and handling and informing the people in general. So I do not have any specific question because I think all questions have been exhausted.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
But we are very grateful to Dr. Roy, the way you have explained everything, all the questions you have taken. But somehow, the people are still very confused, and this will be a long session for you in future also, so that the third wave or fourth wave, whenever it will come, I think your responsibility is cut out for a long time.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Adhikari. I think that is the question my friend Mr. Padam Agarwal, whom we call nowadays called Oxygen Man. So he messaged and he said, I also want to ask the same question. So Padam, would you like to ask? Madam, you are around?
Sorry, I was on mute and I didn't realize it. I'm keeping my video off because you'll start jumping and say that I got to go to a hairdresser. So, so
at least you have a hair to.
That's one thing Sanjay always keeps telling me. So, thank you. It was a very enlightening discussion. I came to know Dr. Roy under rather unfortunate circumstances, but then since then he has been a very great friend, and I must thank Meenu and Priyam for organizing such an enlightening session. Dr. Roy, I mean, there is a lot of gray area about what to expect in the third wave. When we are expecting it. Now that I think that we are near the sort of, the second wave is sort of going to taper off in June. That is what I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. So when to expect the third wave, what to expect in the third wave, if there is any clarity, I mean, it would be good to know.
Thank you, sir. First of all, thanks for supplying all the oxygen to us. That's one.
No, I must say that it has been my pride in being a part of all the great endeavors which you have been doing. You have recently added so many beds. So that was a very small and humble contribution from our side.
Thank you. That's only one of the, out of the 3 treatments, short treatment, oxygen is one. So that was one thing. See, we are all in a dark room. There's a COVID sutra. Somebody has given some management college and school has given different pandemic parameters where what will come, what will not come. They're all huge mathematical models or guesswork. See, who knew 1.5 years before that something like COVID existed? And today we are a second wave. So the third wave will come. Whether it will affect children or not, we don't know. But going by the previous experience, where the those like our senior citizens, this time we are largely spared because they learned 2 things. They got vaccinated and they learned that if I go out too much, I might lose myself. So they were very careful. The middle age and youngsters never bothered. They thought they never were vaccinated and they thought that nothing will happen to them, and they paid a heavy price. So we have seen that we haven't got the immunity, which is 100%. That means the possibility of us getting infected exists. Now that means third wave will come. It will affect those who are not vaccinated for sure. If those are children, it will affect them also. We know that disease manifests after the age of 12. So 12 onwards, they'll get more affected because others would have vaccinated or would have become careful. Now, once they start going to schools or they start playing outside, today all the play schools are closed. We also know that virus mutates. Mutate means it changes its structure. There are 30,000 words put together. They keep on jumping from here to there in between. So every time the virus changes its words, it becomes a variant. Some variants are useless, they die out. Some variants are infective. That's how the last time the infective rate was 1.5 to 2. This time the infective rate is 1:3. Means one patient will infect 3 people for sure. That's a hugely infective. 1 to 1, less than 1 means pandemic is dying. More than 1, pandemic is increasing. 1:3 means pandemic is increasing at a very fast rate. So new virus will come, new mutation virus will come. They're already roaming around. The Brazil variant, the South Africa variant, UK variant, USA variant are roaming around. Now, what stops from Pakistan to come to India, you tell me? Nothing stops.
Nothing.
So we will get it. It's just a matter of time. Now, predictability, we never thought second wave will come in March end. We never thought. We thought virus is only meant for Bombay. It went to Delhi. We never thought it will come to Calcutta. It came to Bengal and killed so many people. So third wave will come. So be rest assured. Why I'm saying so emphatically that unless civil society learns to manage and be disciplined, you will pay a price for it. It's a reminder from the above that take life seriously. We stop taking life. I'm saying a very light note, but every opportunity in life is an opportunity to look inside. Are we looking inside? We're still talking about, oh, lockdown, I can't go to. I'm not a very close friend of mine. Saturday, today is what? Saturday, no, Friday, he flew to Dubai with 9 people in a chartered flight. Calcutta, rich Calcutta, no? Now tell me why. Why can't I stay here? But no, the compulsion that I have to go out, indiscipline. We are so indisciplined. There are very few people disciplined like Mr. H.P. Budhia. When he was admitted with us, it was such a pleasure to treat him for 5 days. He is like an army soldier. Whatever you tell him, he'll do it. Same thing I can't say about Sanjay, huh? Well, so that discipline, it gets diluted in our youngsters and it will hit us very soon. I don't know, it may happen in October, may happen in, but given any indication what happened to second wave, add 3 more months, October, November will come again. Expected.
Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle, for your question. I have another question which has come in. Many medicines are urgently being made available by Government of India. However, many of these are not recommended for COVID by experts. Example, I can't even pronounce the names, but I'll try. Example, remdesivir, favipiravir, and several antibiotics, etc. Please comment on what are the protocols that should be followed in treating COVID.
See, COVID treatment is a fairly standard treatment. When the patient comes, give him ivermectin, it doesn't work, still give him. Hydroxychloroquine doesn't work, still give him. Zinc probably works, give him. So and then azithromycin, give him. Remdesivir earlier for moderate, now we start doing earlier. Remdesivir is a favipiravir is for those who are not that sick. Remdesivir for those who are moderate to seriously sick. Tocilizumab is for the patients who are having very acute cytokine storm. So those were prescribed correctly as per the current knowledge and government controlled it. But what went wrong was that people start black marketing and hoarding. See, all that oxygen thing happened because of the hoarding. This country never had shortage of anything. People start hoarding. I know one rich fellow in Calcutta who has got 100 remdesivir in his house. He's told me very proudly, I've got 100 remdesivir in his house. I said, even if you give the entire family and dog, still you will have left with you. I said, so we are a very selfish race. We want us to survive. Neighbor may die. So if we all do not become so selfish and wait for my turn to come, there's enough for all of us. And I've lost a couple of patients, though, and family and the doctors will prescribe so casually without realizing, oh, you need Actemra. And the patient later will go heaven and earth looking for Actemra. This is tocilizumab. And so many times they'll call me and talk to me and it doesn't work. Unless in a very specific, it's like a magic bullet in a very standard circumstances. There it works. Somebody has been dying, cytokine storm for 4 days, already on ventilator, tocilizumab will not work, no point. Same thing remdesivir. It won't work once disease has progressed to a certain level. But because patient relatives want to give everything, and I don't blame them also. To be very honest with you, no point blaming. They are their near and dear one. They want to do everything for them. That's how they are becoming like that. It's not that they are bad people. They're just scared people. And so holding creates more shortage than the real circumstances. And how much they work, we really don't know, to be very honest with you.
Thank you. Mom, would you like to take some questions from the audience?
Somebody has asked that the father has ischemic stroke and he's on blood thinner. So can he take vaccination?
He had the stroke in 2019, and since then he's on the blood thinner. So can he?
He can take. Blood thinner is no contraindication. There are no known contraindication for vaccination, by the way. Anybody can take it. I saw some question that my child has got a CP. Take it, because the chances of suffering from COVID and getting affected is far, far more than the vaccination can ever trouble you. So please go ahead and take it.
Yeah, because doctor, you are also seeing the chat box. So whatever questions you think you might like.
No, I just saw what floating questions.
Right. Mr. C. Todi also raised his hand. Mr. C. Todi, you want to say?
Yeah, I'll just unmute him. 1 second.
Yes, Sanjay, this is Shiv here.
Yes, please.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Yes.
So like Padam, I'm also not switching on the video because you would urge me to go to the dresser.
No problem.
Anyway, my question is that supposing somebody has had a Covishield, can he take another vaccine? For example, I happen to be in US and I got the single dose Johnson there. So is it of any use to take another Covishield or a Pfizer here? Or is it, I mean, I understand there's a shortage of vaccines, but just for my education, I'm asking if there's an opportunity, is it advisable to repeat or take a second vaccine here? Thank you.
Not really. Johnson is a single dose. So
Yes.
you have taken Johnson, you are fully protected at this point of time.
Okay.
So there's no need really to take second vaccine.
Okay.
So he can go for a haircut then.
No. The doctor said that in spite of being vaccinated,
now.
the doctor said in spite of being vaccinated, we need to be very cautious.
Yeah, absolutely.
I follow his advice to the last letter.
Yes. Please be cautious. Please be disciplined. That will save your life and many others.
Yes, doctor. Thank you.
And about this black fungus, and I'm hearing lots of WhatsApp that कि bread खाना चाहिए कि नहीं, bread में जो fungus हो जाता है, और जो एक सबसे funny है कि fridge के side में जो rubber है उसमें जो fungus हो जाता है, that is also bad. So I really don't know कि whether to believe or not.
I mean, मेरा बस है तो मैं WhatsApp बैन करा दूं.
एकदम ठीक बोल रहे.
WhatsApp University, that's true.
Yeah, WhatsApp has given us more education than the formal education we ever had. No, ma'am. See, fungus is our life. Fungus is we breathe. In the last 1.5 hours, you must have taken at least thousands of pores of fungus. Regularly, you are taking it. Don't think fungus is in the air. It's everywhere. In the humid environment increases. Our body keeps on fighting with it constantly. Your skin has got billions of bacteria, ma'am. And some are good bacteria. Your gut has got billions and billions. Entire world population is your stomach in form of bacteria. Nothing happens to you. You survive. You live. You live rather healthily. When the immunity goes down, when you have a comorbidity, then all these fungus and all these bacteria become opportunistic. They start growing and giving you disease. But don't worry, live your life. Live a healthy life. Sleep on time. I see a lot of people sending SMS at 2 o'clock in the night. Until 11 o'clock in the morning, you're not seeing. That's bad. Nobody can sustain for a long time. You need to sleep in time. Like Mr. Budhia does it, Mr. H.P. Budhia. He sleeps on time, gets up in time, go for a walk, eat healthy food. Those are the things to build your immunity and give you richness. Eat not junk food, eat balanced food, have green vegetables, have fruits in diet, balance it well. So those are the things to do to increase your immunity. Those are things will save you, not cleaning the fridge of fungus. आप fridge कितना भी clean कर लो, कहीं ना कहीं fungus बैठा रहेगा, because it's a wet surface.
Sandeep ji, आप bread खा सकते हैं. Sandeep Jalan had a question, you know, repeatedly he was asking, can we have bread or should we stop bread?
और ये
अरे मक्खन लगा खाइए bread जरूर खाइए.
और ये फ्रिज वाला जो है ये पापा जी मेरे को पूछ रहे थे.
So Dr. Saab, I would also like to add कि मैं भी 10:30 बजे सो जाता हूँ religiously. 10:32, 6. So you also correct my impression. So I'm also trying to be disciplined. So 10:30. So that is good. We also want to make it little light, you know, amongst all the gloom and doom. That's why we are just taking it little light.
Being COVID positive and then negative, उसके बाद कितना दिन तक immunity रहेगा? मतलब 1 महीना, 1.5 महीना till you get it again.
6 महीने तक तो रहता है. Up to 6 months you have immunity, which has been established. But a lot of people who got second COVID in 3 months also. 2 months. One of my first person who got COVID in Brother Shyam, and he got COVID twice, huh? And he's still working in COVID ward.
Oh my God.
So, but every time the disease was very light, very light. So that what I'm telling you, that third wave is not very far. It will come unless we have become disciplined, unless we really become disciplined and vaccinate all of us. Then it will become eventually like a flu. You get it and you forget about it. Then don't even tell anybody. Just stay at home for 2 days and you're okay.
Doctor, you know, it is something remarkable that in 72 hours, you converted that Yuva Kranangan into a satellite hospital. So could you kindly elaborate what is a satellite hospital and what are the basic things one can get there, because there are no beds in the main hospital. So what is the facility there? Just as
See, COVID treatment is very straightforward. So what we did that we set up, Padamji gave us oxygen supply. I made his life miserable. I called him 5 times a day. And till he provided oxygen, I never allowed him to sleep. And in 3 days, he set up the full oxygen supply in Kranangan facilities, and everything else we brought in. We brought ventilator, high flow nasal oxygen. We brought beds and mattresses and whatever was required to set up a hospital within 3 days. We were very lucky, and we could get it from the suppliers. So we set up anything up to oxygen level, 15 liters of oxygen can be done there, and we can put a patient on ventilator and treat him. So that is, and when he needed ECMO, he has to be shifted to the main hospital. So that's something which we did, and it took 3 days, Herculean effort. And more than that was our police hospital. Police hospital is a 118-year-old building. We set up 152 beds in 14 days flat. We remodeled the entire thing. Again, Padamji was responsible for bringing the oxygen there. And we brought beds and everything, and started as a COVID hospital. And that hospital I'm promoting as a next week, it will become a regional center for mucormycosis. Mucormycosis has become a notifiable disease. We have over 1 lakh of patients in India and 25,000 in Eastern India minimum. And so we want to make it, because it's a multidisciplinary approach where patient requires a plastic surgeon, eye surgeon, ENT surgeon, general surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, and maxillofacial surgeon. All those people are involved. So we are just setting it up. By next Wednesday, we'll inaugurate it. So we'll like to treat that maximum patients who come with mucormycosis and long COVID, who are suffering from COVID after effects.
So Rakhi, what question do you want to ask?
Rajesh also.
Rajesh also, I have not seen his question.
Should I unmute them?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rakhi, you're unmuted.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, doctor. This is Rakhi Chatterjee. I just wanted to know what is the difference between Covaxin and Covishield, because a lot of rumors are there that Covaxin is far more better than Covishield, and Covishield is not so much effective for corona, to resist corona. Is it true?
Not really. both are good vaccines. Both have got their own merits and demerits. And the Covaxin and COVID Shield. COVID Shield is a worldwide accepted vaccine given in multiple countries. And it gives us 90% safety from corona. And we have given it to the thousands and thousands of people, and we are seeing its outcome. A lot of people who got COVID Shield had a very mild disease. Otherwise, a lot of people did not get the disease. That means that it is working. So COVID Shield, Covaxin, both are good vaccine. Whichever vaccine you get, take it. Don't hesitate. Don't bother. They're known as paralysis by analysis. Don't analyze too much. Just take it. At this point in time.
One thing, doctor. My sister got the vaccination in this month only, in the beginning of this month. But right now she has COVID. So the second vaccine, when she will take? What is the duration?
After 3 months.
After 3 months. 3 months of having corona.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, doctor. Okay.
Thank you.
Rajesh, would you like to ask your question? Just unmute. Rajesh, you're unmuted. Okay, I'll ask another question meanwhile. So there's a question from one of the CCFC members, Badshah Gupta. I tested negative on 15th of April. Can I take the first Covishield dose on the 3rd of June?
No, after 3 months. New advisory says that after 3 months of COVID, so 15th April, 15th May, June, July, 15th July, she'll be eligible for the dose.
Okay. We also have with us Mr. Narayan Jain from Concern for Calcutta. Would you like to ask a question? Yeah, you're unmuted.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, you are.
In fact, it's in last 1.5 hours, our learned speaker, Dr. Rai, has make us the feeling that we are seeing a movie. We could not see towards our watch and how the time has passed. There may be many more questions, but then the way he has explained, sir, I have only one small request, because by using your good offices in the medical fraternity and looking after various hospitals and nursing homes, how the monetary aspect, the financial burden of the people, particularly those who are have-nots or cannot afford, how that can be considered to make at lower level. Because you see, people are having not only one kind of problem, they are having many kind of problems, psychological problem, monetary problem, tension, and the medicines also, only a few medicine shops, pharma shops are open 24 hours. And sometimes the medicines are not available at 11 o'clock, 12 midnight, 1 o'clock in the night. So that also how we can manage, because we have been contacting some people and they are helping like Dhanvantri, but we need to work out more. Sir, as an NGO, how we can be helpful if you can guide. So we are working in conjunction with the Caring Minds. They are doing a lot of good work, and it is our pleasure for Concern for Calcutta to work with them. So we are there, sir, with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, there are like all these police hospitals and that stadium hospital. they are all treating patients at no profit, no loss. So at the cost, they are being treated. So that's a good place where they have to just pay their costing. So we treat them at West Bengal health scheme rate, which is at the cost rate. So that's a one place. That's why government has created that facility, and it's a world-class facility. It's not that they are getting treated for no profit, no loss in a bad facility, in a good facility. So there's a one good thing which has happened. So they can take advantage of that, sir.
Oxygen is available there, sir? Oxygen is provided to the patient?
Yeah, of course. As I said earlier, oxygen is the only treatment, certain treatment.
Thank you. We have a question from Shri Parna.
Yes.
Just a second, I'll unmute her. Yeah, Shri Parna, you're unmuted.
Yeah, this is Sripona's husband speaking. My daughter is 15 years old. She's cerebral palsy. At times she gets convulsions. Well, we have been taking a proper care of not going out. We, she's inside house for last 1.5 months, and they are getting. And actually, as she's cerebral palsy, she's getting restless. Staying inside. But still, we are forcing her, and she's listening to us and staying inside. Apart from this, sir, she's not getting any vaccine. So how do we take care of it? Because we have to allow one or two part-time, maids to come into the house, but she's way away from them. Do you have any special suggestion for this special child?
See, the prevention is the only way of stopping it for her because she's not entitled for vaccination yet. And as soon as it opens below 18, we'll give an injection to her, vaccine to her. Till then, the only way to stop it from reaching to her is by ensuring that you have got the best infection control at your home. All the maids must be always masked. Please remember that cloth mask works very poorly. Yeah. In second wave, you have to have a surgical mask or an N95 or at least double mask. You can use the cheap surgical mask which costs 5 rupees, 7 rupees and put a cloth mask above that. So that a double masking or surgical mask or the N95 mask is the mask of choice this time. And all the part-timers must wash their hands when they come in and they must wear masks. That's the only way of stopping it from entering. And what you can do, small precautions. Let them not serve her. Let them keep the food on the table and you all can serve her because you are there with her all the time. And so what happens when the servants come and serve you repeatedly, then they are in very close proximity. That's how it spreads. So don't eat with everybody, eat separately. So those are the ways of preventing. Don't use small room, and if you use small room, make sure all the windows are open and fan is on. If you use AC, make sure that one window is open so there's a flow of air outside, comes from outside and goes outside. These are small things. If we take care of it, we can prevent infection largely.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Question from Samar that government is increasing the gap between the two jabs. So some are saying it is because the lack of vaccine. So what do you think?
No, it's a AstraZeneca herself have given in their manufacturing profile, they themselves have mentioned that up to 12 weeks we should give the next dose. The government just followed it. It suited the government. But the instruction has come from the AstraZeneca, not from the government. Government just followed it up.
Yeah, I think now is the time for some light rapid fire.
So, doctor, how much time do you have? Because the questions will keep overflowing. So
I have all the time. If I can give comfort to anybody, I have all the time.
Oh, very good.
So
Doctor,
we
have one thing in this. We talked about Dhanvantri, so Mr. Dhanvantri, Rajiv Khandelwal has also come in.
Okay.
Rajiv, you want to come in? Rajiv
Yeah,
Khandelwal?
1 second.
Hi, Dr. Roy. How are you?
I'm fine, Rajiv. How are you?
Good to see you. In spite of all this, still you can make time for all the good things.
I'm here to serve you. So anytime.
I congratulate team Caring Minds for putting on such a wonderful show, and especially Minuji and Priyam for always thinking for this particular subject. I can tell you they are the real crusaders against these mental health problems. Doctor, I wanted to share a small question to you, which usually people keep asking me, that what is that trigger point for those depressed patients when they are unable to speak, which they usually don't wanted to talk to anybody, don't wanted to speak out their mind. How to involve them in this process?
See, COVID induces depression, especially. See, these people were never unwell. They were a normal people. They thought they're invincible. Nothing will ever happen to them. Suddenly, they are in the ward, and God forbid, if they go to ICU, they see people dying around them like flies.
That's right.
So they get into a kind of very depressive mode. And that depression is a kind of, we call it ICU depression, right? When you have no control over yourself. And you also think, let me tell you, as I was sharing sometime earlier, the amount of fear I have seen in the eyes of patients in COVID, I have not seen in my lifetime. Anybody who comes in is extremely scared because the pattern we don't know, who will sink we don't know, who will desaturate we don't know, who will die we don't know. All these parameters are unknown. I have got 95-year-old man. He came, he was there for 2 days, third day oxygen stopped, fifth day he went home. I got 19-year-old man. He came, he was put on ECMO and he died. In between all variations we have. So this has led to serious mental issues. It can only go by constant interaction with them, constant showing them the reality, and also a little bit of spirituality will help. We need to understand that everything is not in your hand. Everything is not in our hand. And at the end of the day, everybody has to go. You need to realize that as long as we are here, we need to live with sharing and caring for others. That is the only way we live, and we live happily. The moment we become selfless and don't become too selfish about ourselves, our mind will open up. When we start caring for others, our mind will open up. The moment we start caring for society, mind will open up. Then I have less fear. Fear comes from lack of oneness. When you feel others are mine, you're not scared of a father, but scared of a neighbor, because neighbor is not yours. The moment we have father and neighbor same in my mind, I have no fear. So I think the moment we become a little selfless, fear will go.
So Priyam, can we start now the rapid fire?
Doctor, one small question. In the hospital, I understand on the bed, in the ICU, patients are very naturally seeing around everything. But outside, when there are a lot of people, lakhs and lakhs of people are in the home isolation, what do you suggest them? Any mantra, any tips, how they could come out of it with spirituality? Yes, but medication or counseling with whom?
Right treatment. Those who collapse and die at home, they don't die in mental depression, doesn't kill anybody, doesn't give you a heart attack. You die of the disease. What happens? A lot of patients like happy hypoxia, we discussed earlier. The very senior police officer, his mother was with us. We ready to discharge her. Discharge papers were being prepared, and she had MI and she died. This disease, such sudden deaths we are seeing repeatedly and again. Those who are moderately sick, they need to be in the hospital. They can't be at home. Home is meant for mild disease, not for mild to moderate or moderate to severe. So there we can prevent deaths. Now, mental depression and death, they are two different things. A lot of people are dying suddenly because they have not been managed correctly.
I agree. Thank you, doctor. So kind of you for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Rajesh, I'll just unmute you if you want to ask your question.
Good evening, doctor. Yeah, my question is that, I just want to know that in case of vaccination, is it going to be a permanent feature every year that every year we have to be get immunity, and once in a year we have to take vaccination. Is it going to be like this, or it is just a one-time activity?
The 100 years old back, we had a Spanish flu. 1918, we had a Spanish flu. And we are all taking flu vaccine today, aren't we? Especially if person is above 50 or 60. So what will happen eventually, the virus will lose its sting, but it will not lose its ability to make us sick. But to what extent? If it is going to kill us the way it's killing, we'll have to take vaccine every year. If it becomes softer and gives us fever, then we will like to give it to our seniors. And if it becomes so helpless that only you get 1 day fever, then we need not bother. Better to get a fever and be okay rather than taking vaccine. So these are the different 3 scenarios in which vaccine would probably be required or not required.
Thank you. We also have some questions which have come in on the Caring Minds and the CCFC Facebook pages. So I'll just quickly read them out together. There's one from Sampa Sarbajna from our Caring Minds page. My mother is suffering from blood cancer. Can she take the COVID vaccine? This other question is from Pralay. What is the isolation period for asymptomatic and mild asymptomatic patients? Because earlier it was 14 days and then again it changed. So just some clarity on that. Thank you.
14 days are still standard. See, unless you're a healthcare worker, then on 10th day you can come back. But otherwise, for everybody, 14 days is standard. And there's no, that has not been changed drastically, because we know that virus becomes ineffective on 9th day. So, but still give 3-4 days time or whatever shedding has to happen. And then one can go back to the work or come out of isolation. But yes, 14 days are still standard. Priyam?
Okay. And the other question was, my mother is suffering from blood cancer.
She can take.
She can take. Okay.
There's no contraindication as of now on vaccination so far.
Okay. All right. Mom, do you see any more questions in the chat box, or we can wrap up?
I think we can wrap up. We can start with
the fun segment.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a little, just to end on a light-hearted note, we have a little rapid fire round for you. So we'll put you on the spot as we have throughout the session, and we'll shoot some questions at you, and you can just tell us the first thing that comes to your mind that, when you hear this, or yeah, you can keep it as interesting as you'd like. So Mom, you can start.
So my question is, if you were not a doctor, what would you be?
A chartered accountant.
Good one.
So very quick. So what is your favorite thing to do on the weekend?
Read Gita.
Yeah, we all know that.
But that you do every day, you told us, every morning.
So any extra time, read more Gita. Read Upanishad, read Brahma Sutra.
So what is the best compliment you have ever received?
Best compliment, I receive compliment every day. And every compliment is the best compliment.
So what is your me time? I think again Bhagavad Gita.
4 to 6 when I'm reading Upanishad or Gita, whatever. Actually, I'm comfortable with when I'm walking in the hospital. I'm not walking in a hospital. I'm walking in a temple.
Excellent.
I'm here to serve. So any opportunity to serve is good.
So is there any regret?
None. Life is too short.
Yes, that's
very good.
So Priyam.
Okay. What is the funniest thing you were surprised to learn about yourself during COVID-19?
That my blood sugar went up very high. So that was very funny, that I thought that I'm invincible, but then we realized that they had put me on, I got very scared. So then I realized they had put me on a steroid, and that what resulted in high sugar. And the worst moment was that for 1 month, I had a severe muscle pain. So those are two good and bad, surprise and bad thing.
Okay. What is the new skill that you have picked up during the lockdown?
What is the?
What is a new skill? A new skill that you have picked up during the lockdown?
What is new skill?
New skill? Yeah, gardening, cooking, anything. Something new you've learned.
No, nothing. I've learned to use respirator. I put a respirator and go to the. That's amazing because the mask kills you. When you put double mask, your nose gets bent. I have a little nose which gets pressed, and it pains. My nose kept on paining here because the mask, tight mask. So the respirators were the biggest use and new skill which I enjoy it, because once you wear, your mouth is free. You can talk. You can be there as long as you want.
Okay. What is a bucket list must do that's on your list when things go back to normal?
Nothing. I have no bucket list. I'm ready to go today.
The next question is, are you a tea or a coffee person?
I like coffee twice, morning and evening. And I don't like anything. I'm not fond of food. I'm not fond of anything. Whatever is served to me, I eat. Whatever is served to me, I drink. Give me coffee, I'll drink coffee happily. Give me coffee, tea, I'll drink coffee, tea happily. Whatever is there.
If not Calcutta, where else do you see yourself being based in the entire world?
If not Calcutta, I will be in the hills.
Okay.
Hiding in a quiet place.
Okay. Many more questions? Or would you like to ask us anything?
I would just like to add that Caring Mind has launched a free helpline just a week ago. So anybody just he was talking about depression, and also we are there to help. And you can anytime call the free helpline and talk to a unknown counselor who can soothe you. So, Sir Mister, can you put the helpline number here? I would just announce it is 1-800-891-3021.
Yeah, Mom, if you can just type it out in the chat box, then people can pick it up from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Over to you, Dad, if you would like to do the closing.
Mm-hmm. 1-800. Yeah, so Dr. Roy, they say to give vote of thanks. So what vote of thanks you give to someone who is your own? You are like family to us. And during COVID last year, we knew only one name, Dr. Alok Roy and Medica. So all of us from the family, father, me, mother, we were at your place, and touch wood, that was the first time I went to hospital, first time in my life. But I didn't realize that I was in hospital. It was like, second home. I should not say that, people need to go there, but the kind of care, comfort, the people behind the scene, like you or Kamal, you are the front line, or the frontline warriors, I can say, but the people who are behind the scene, the unsung heroes, let me compliment all of them. And also I want to share a secret that, like we Indians, we are usually used to give some tips that, 100 rupees de do, inko 200 de do, 500 de do, but I should say it now in the open daylight that none of the single person took a single rupee. They say, sir, no, not a single rupee. We really will feel very proud of it, the kind of culture you've given there. And they were always so smiling. It was something, the culture, the kind of service, the kind of smile we got. I don't know what kind of culture you have given. I was really thinking today that what the name is, Alok means. Alok means the bright, and Alok means the hope. And I think that is what Alok Rai is all about. You bring brightness, you bring hope. And thank you so much for doing what you are doing for the city, what you are doing for the society, and the kind of enormous energy what you have. I've never seen you sulking or never seen you tired. Neither you are tired, as my father says, neither tired nor retired. So this is something really, we are so happy to be associated together.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All these 2 hours have passed by. I know it can go on and on, but let us also, think for a happy weekend. And with this, I would like to thank you and each one of your colleagues who may be here on this Zoom or otherwise. Please convey our sincere thanks to all of them. We are really indebted to each and everyone, and to our colleagues who joined this evening, and also from Concerned for Calcutta and CCFC, either here or on Facebook. Thanks to each one of us, and thank you for making this evening. Thank you, Doctor.
If Papaji wants to say something, please unmute him.
Yeah, I'll just unmute him.
Papaji, आप unmute.
Yeah, 1 second. Just. Dadu, you are unmuted.
Hello.
Ah.
Good evening, Dr. Rai.
Namaskar, sir. Good evening, sir.
Thank you very, very much for the compliments what you attributed as a disciplined soldier. But what Sanjay has said, we really, by heart, we can say in Medica, the best of the service, the best of the taken care, any patient is not only for us, but we have heard from others also. You are doing a great job, and lucky we are that we are also associated in Assam with Medica. So our hospital sort of facility, what we have in Assam, that is run and taken care by Medica only. God blesses, and we wish you a long life, and also the sermons, Gita and Upanishads. We knew of it that anytime you are free, and definitely every evening you have a session, with the colleagues available. It's a great sort of, the service to the humanity, and spirituality is the ultimate answer for every problem. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Have a nice
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Sir.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Priyam.
Thank you.
Thank you.